Hey, let's talk about this Booker T documentary that was on A&E over the weekend. This A&E biography. A couple of areas was omitted, I guess you could say. And I told you guys this. I told you guys this, if I'm not mistaken, last week. I said that's the thing when it comes to these WWE biographies. These guys are able to change the narrative. They can pretty much spin things the way they want to spin things when it comes to their docs. WWE has been notorious for this for years. If you want to get the full story, if you want to get the nitty and the gritty and everything, you can't just solely rely on a WWE biography. You just can't. Whether it is, look, as long as WWE themselves is somehow tied to that documentary, as far as they got final say on what's going to make the cut and let's use these guys for the producers and all of that, as long as they've got their hand in there somehow, you can pretty much forget about having the ultimate package of a story. And with Booker T, look, it was a great story. Don't get me wrong. It was a great story. But we have a couple of glaring things in there that were omitted that you're just going, can we talk about this? Why are we not talking about this? Or what about, look, I know about Booker T's story. I know his whole, 'cause grew up big fan of Booker T. So it's interesting too because he wrote two books, and I have had those books on my bucket list. I usually get any other wrestling book, something else always happens, and one of these days I actually got to get Booker T's books already. He's got two that's out right now. I dug in. I fucking dug in. I actually had watched it with my girl, and man, my heart just ached for him and his family when they were kids, and to basically lose their mom in her 40s. Oh, going in for basically routine surgery, supposed to be in and out, complications, and the fact that that was their only provider, that was the breadwinner, for the household. That was the glue that kept everything together. And now that that person is pretty much out of the equation, that whole foundation of a family, for it to be, so shaken up at its core, and everything, your heart just ached for Booker, his brother and sisters, and all of that, what they were going through. What led him down the path that he took of a career in crime, robbing Wendy's and all of that multiple times. You're like, wow. But you know what? Eventually, shit like that, it does catch up with you. I remember that, very, very strongly the first go round about his upbringings and everything. And see, what most people just don't understand is once you have had some type of incorporation with doing some time in prison, no matter what, no matter how small the crime is, just the fact that you actually did do some type of prison time. And when you get out and you're trying to, okay, I want to try to get a good, steady freaking paying job. I want to try to, it's like a scarlet letter. It pretty much follows you wherever you go. And it doesn't matter. Sadly, it does not matter if it was 5 years ago. It doesn't matter if it was 10 years ago. Sadly, now society's changed. I will say that. Like within the last 15 years to a degree, I think within reason, it kind of seems as though minds have changed a little bit as far as exactly, okay, one, what is that crime? What was it that you committed? And then two, okay, and how did you rise above this after getting out? What did you do for yourself, your community, and all that? How did you change things for the better and all that? And here's a situation right here where Booker T, as a young man, could have gotten out of prison, somehow continued to go down that same path and leave it to his brother to essentially give him that lifeline, helping him stay off the streets, helping him stay away from a life in crime, getting him that job as a security officer. Could you just imagine what would have possibly happened, though, had the person that was responsible for Booker, you're hired? That guy, could you just imagine if once he found out, not only are you out of a job, but that same guy did not hook him up with another job? I don't know that guy's name offhand, but that guy that ultimately found out about Booker's joint, but was like, nah, he's such a good, dedicated employee. He's hardworking and I really love his temperament and, pretty much, loyal guy, friendly, did not want to lose him and instead found work for him elsewhere, managing one of those, U-Haul type of facilities for him, storage facilities for him and all that. And then going so far as to support Booker T financially when he wanted to get into the world of pro wrestling. Just imagine if all of those resources were not available for Booker T. Young black man, young minority, growing up pretty much in the ghetto, growing up struggling, trying to do what he can to stay afloat and everything, has responsibilities to a young child and everything, trying to do everything in their power to keep that kid fed and all. Desperate man is going to do some desperate things, right? Especially when so many windows of opportunity keep being shut in his face, right? So it would have been a very interesting, different story. I don't believe Booker would have been with us. I think either a couple of things would have happened with Booker had he continued down the path that he did without those people, those instrumental people being there for him. He would have ended up either in a body bag or would still be incarcerated as we speak. And at this point had done, multiple crimes or whatever. So, it's really, it was a really good eye-opening experience to hear his story from the standpoint of where he came from, which was basically from the bottom and pretty much climbed to the top and everything. It should be really looked upon as a awe-inspiring story that, hey, if this guy can make it, not just in the world of pro wrestling, but just in life. If this guy can make it, you can make it too. Now, where I was a little bit, that's interesting. And I asked my girl, I said, no trick question. I asked her this right before I went on air tonight. I said, no trick question. Just answer truthfully. What did you think about the Booker T documentary? And, she's that casual wrestling fan. She goes, it was pretty good. I'm like, so you liked it? She's like, yeah. She's like, is that okay? I was like, no. I'm just like, no trick question. I'm just asking you, what did you think about the documentary? She's like, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I'm like, okay, cool. So most casual wrestling fans that don't follow the wrestling like that and everything, they're going to find this Booker T story, oh, wow. But for the veteran wrestling fans like myself, we're going to go, yeah, it was good, but this was omitted. Perfect example. The feud between Triple H and Booker T leading into WrestleMania 19. If you have listened to my show at any point in the last, now going on 10 years as of this November, I have said to you guys repeatedly, one of my favorite moments in WWE history, but also what was one of my what the fuck moments where I was extremely pissed at Triple H and WWE and all that, was the infamous feud between Triple H, Booker T, WrestleMania 19, everything leading into that freaking promo on Monday Night Raw, where Triple H says to Booker T, see, Book, people like you don't become champion. You got to look that up. Just go type in YouTube, Booker T, Triple H promo. I mean, it was just so I've told you guys this many times over the years, but for newer listeners, I remember when me and my friends initially saw that promo on Raw live and in real time, all of our faces dropped. I mean, our mouths were literally on the fucking floor. I remember cursing. I remember cursing at the TV. And I remember saying, fuck Triple H. Fuck that racist piece of shit. You know, excuse the profanity, but I'm giving it to you. That's exactly how it was for me in real time. Like, fuck that piece of shit. Fuck WWE. And I remember I stormed off. I went into my bedroom. I went into my bedroom and I remember one of my friends, they came a couple of minutes later, like, hey dog, you know, the Triple H promo, you know, it's over, man. It's over. You can come back. I was like, man, fuck Triple H. Because this was during that period where it was the Triple H show. I mean, all of your favorites, all of your hopes, your dreams, as far as, oh, this guy looks great. Oh, he's fucking badass. No, he's fucking cool. Well, what about, man, when it came to Triple H, though, heaven forbid they get in that ring with Triple H. That's my little shovel gesture for you guys that can see the stream. I mean, the Triple H show. No show was more worse back in the day. You know, I know we went through the phase there where you stopped and think about it. You know, it was the Hulkamania show. You know, then we had the period where it was, if it wasn't the Hulkamania show, it was the John Cena show. If it wasn't, Hulkamania show, the Triple H show, the John Cena show, the Roman Reigns show. Remember, we went through a nice period there with the Roman Reigns show, but you know, now everything's kind of nice and balanced out now and everything. But oh man, like of all the shows, nothing was more. See, most folks, you know, Cena. Nah, nothing compared to the Triple H show. I personally feel, you know, that would be a really great poll. I think we should put that up. I think we should say something along the lines of, you know, as a wrestling fan back in the day, which show infuriated you more, the Triple H show or the John Cena show? I'm curious what the results of that would be. I bet you the Triple H show would win, hands down, from those that remember experiencing it in real time. But everything that came about with Booker T when he was gunning after Triple H for that World Heavyweight Championship, I was eating this up, and I thought that the way Booker T was essentially being built up, you know, to this point and everything, I felt, okay, this is probably going to be his moment. This is probably, you know, now going to be his time and everything. And I remember just way back then, as a fan, you know, me and my friends, we were going, oh man, you know, yeah, you know, we got The Rock and everything. But a lot of us looked at Booker T as black. You know, when it came to The Rock, really weird. It really, really is weird, because when we looked at The Rock back then, it might sound kind of weird, but we didn't look at The Rock as black, because what kept being forced down our throats, Samoan. So keeping that in mind, in WWE, we're looking at Booker T. We're going, oh shit, WWE could finally have a black world heavyweight champion. And for me, seeing that moment with Booker T, Triple H in that feud, I had shades of Ron Simmons, Vader, WCW. I'm going, okay, it seems like the stars are aligned perfectly here. This is going to be a solid fucking program. Let's go. Great match that those two guys had. Great fucking match. But the finish Triple H going over, you're like, what the fuck? You're like, what the fuck? Come on now. And it's so interesting because when you look at that Triple H promo, it had such serious racial overtones to it. It had it. And it's very interesting because you got Bruce Pritchard that was trying to defend it. Yeah, he's defended it many times, over the years, especially now that he's got his own podcast and everything. He's basically saying, no, we weren't going for the racial overtone when it came to that promo. What we were trying to touch upon was when Booker T was over in WCW. That's what we were trying to, highlight. And basically, guys like him, from WCW, basically they got no business pretty much being in the ring with a WWE guy in the likes of Triple H, shit like that. See, Book, people like you don't deserve to be world champion. Hey, Booker, go ahead. Do one of those little dances for me, man. Come on. Make me laugh, Book. Do one of those little spinner. I mean, that shit just, whoo. White fucking, ooh. I'm getting hot just thinking about that shit, yo. I'm getting hot. Let me stop. I'm getting hot thinking about it. But it would have been great to hear. You guys have no idea. Of all the things I was looking forward to during this biography, I was looking forward to hearing Booker T and Triple H go there about that promo. That whole promo, everything leading up into WrestleMania 19. Now, look, if we could touch upon Booker T saying, Hulk Hogan, we're coming for you, ninja. If we can bring that up, which they did during the doc, then yeah, let's go there with the Triple H thing. And look, now that we have an even more better understanding about, you understand where I'm coming from? Do I need to elaborate even more? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that was a golden missed opportunity there with regards to the Black Lives Movement, with regards to, police brutality on minorities and everything. This would have been a really great time to revisit that feud and get both guys to go on record and really talk about all those, because there were multiple layers. There were multiple layers to that rivalry. And it would have been awesome to hear these guys really go there and talk about, hey, did it have racial overtones? Was it pretty salacious? Should we have done it on TV? Should we have, said those things that we said? It really would have been nice to hear them both go on record. And yeah, not for nothing. And I definitely want to show this young brother a lot of love. But at one point, and you guys probably saw him if you watched this, a writer and professor, David Dennis Jr., he had wrote on Twitter that he was interviewed for that Booker T biography. And he talked about at great length the Booker T storyline with Triple H. 2003, for those of you that want to look it up. And then he posted this on Twitter, but then he deleted it. And what he said initially was, and I quote, "So one of the main reasons I was brought in was to talk about WrestleMania 19. I went in about it for a long time, but my ass knew it wasn't making the final cut, so I figured I was going to get cut out from the whole doc. So there's a lot of footage somewhere that's pretty spicy. I just wonder if Vince and Triple H saw it because, baby, yeah, 9 times out of 10. Yeah, 9 times out of 10. And he said in a follow-up, because somebody had asked him to spill the beans, he said, I honestly don't know why it didn't make the final cut. I just know I didn't feel good about it having much of a chance. So this is the type of shit that I'm talking about. Look, if it was a case where the Dark Side of the Ring crew, if it was maybe a case where they were telling Booker T's story, if it was anybody else, then, but then even at that, especially if you had the access to Booker T, knowing that Booker T still has his hand dipped in the world of the WWE universe there, because Booker T likes to try to be very well balanced. He don't want to rock that boat, right? He don't want to rock that boat too much. You understand? So it's even at that, even if you were okay, nobody WWE affiliated, let's get you hooked up with guys that can, you're uncensored, would he really? Now I gotta pose this question, because I haven't read the 2 books yet. So I have to pose this question to any Booker T fan that's out there that read his first 2 books. Did he touch upon his feud with Triple H? And did he, elaborate, anything, shed any light on what he thought about that feud at the time, that promo and everything? I'm very curious. I mean, I know off and on over the years, he said little stuff here and there, but now that even more time has passed, hindsight being 2020 in retrospect, it's always nice to revisit certain periods of time in your life. And, if I could have done this a little bit differently, would I have, or would I have stayed this exact course? What say you? I'll tell you something else that was also omitted from this documentary as well. Make sure you really home in on this too. I like how they just glanced over that period there where Triple H and Booker T had that one match. I'm trying to think when that was. It felt like it was, but remember when Booker T left the WWE in 2007? There was a pay-per-view where he faced Triple H. And then shortly afterwards, him and Sharmell, they were done with WWE because apparently, they had asked for their releases and that was it. Something else that was hugely omitted here. Now, the way you had Booker T pretty much kind of glance over it or whatever, oh, well, Sharmell was expecting, and I had a couple of things that was going on at the time. I'm not making fun of Booker. That's in a nutshell. That's pretty much what he put out there. That was heavily omitted as well, because let's really go there. What originally was going on leading up to Booker T leaving the WWE during that time period was, I remember there was a fight. I don't know if it went down that same year or a couple of years prior, but there was a fight that apparently went down. And I tried looking this up earlier today. I know there was something that went down with Batista. And legend has it that Batista and Booker T, they were like somewhere backstage. And Booker T overheard Batista say something along the lines of, give me somebody to fight. Man, you ain't got nobody. I'm paraphrasing. You ain't got nobody badass I can work with. And Booker T overheard this and he was pretty pissed off, because his whole thing was wait a minute now. I'm a SmackDown guy too. So what? He's saying I ain't shit. And so he got in the face of Booker T, and there was this heated confrontation. And now what I can't really remember is if it got physical. I can't remember that part, but I could have sworn there might have been something else. I don't know if it was just that isolated incident or if there was another one, and veterans will remember this. There was a period in time where Booker T was being heavily considered to move up in WWE management. For all the years of, dedication to the WWE, great in-ring work. I mean, you never heard anything bad about Booker T. There was this one particular period where he was being strongly looked at as a guy that could maybe help WWE out from a creative standpoint to some extent. And if I remember this right, this was way before way before Booker T started doing his thing with ROW. This is way before that. Because if I remember it right, ROW, ROW, that was like what, like 2005? So actually, you know what? So actually, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. Because when Booker left in 2007. And what I'm thinking, yeah, yeah, no, I'm thinking right because I remember like reports back then. Booker was um Booker was trying to get himself in a position really good with WWE where maybe he could have some type of an arrangement with them where his ROW promotion could be looked at as a bit of a developmental plan. Long before NXT and all that, he was trying to have it, think Paul Heyman, ECW, and arrangements that he had going on with WWE back in the day. Booker was trying to do something similar along those lines with WWE, and like around this period, I'm almost like positive now that I'm really kind of going back and thinking about it. It kind of feels like everything was that Booker T Batista fight or whatever that had went down backstage. But once that pretty much had happened, like I remember the reports back then, it was saying Booker T, any chance that he had of maybe having his ROW promotion, working relationship with WWE squashed. Any chance of him maybe having something to do with creative, that's pretty much squashed. And because he was supposed to be helping them out behind the scenes, like on a regular basis with shit. All of that was pretty much squashed. Now, something else that had went down besides that whole shit with Booker T and everything else that I had told you about, there was also some issues that Booker had going on that led up to his release from WWE. He had violated a wellness policy. Now, I'm sure now that I'm saying this, I'm sure some of you guys are probably like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Yeah, 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 yeah. I fucking remember that. Yeah. He had violated the wellness policy in 2007. And if I remember it right, there was some pharmaceutical company that was linked to be distributing performance enhancement drugs. And so he was suspended by WWE for violating its wellness policy. And legend has it that he was somehow tied to this pharmaceutical company. Booker T denied using any drugs, and he denied that he was ever a customer for this particular pharmaceutical company. And pretty much was stemmed from that. Add the shit with Batista, and okay, now they're not even going to give him the time and day as far as moving up behind the scenes. They're definitely not going to work with him right now with ROW and all that. So you could almost kind of make the argument that in spite, Booker T went on ahead and said, okay, you know what? It's just time to bounce. I want to be done with the WWE. Fuck this. I'm done. I kind of need a little bit of a break. Anyway, so supposedly I need a break. The story hasn't really changed too much over the years as far as Booker T and his time in TNA. He was just, if I remember right, he pretty much was just chilling. And you guys can hear him talk about how the TNA stuff came about, but like he was minding his own business, and one thing just turned into another, and the next thing you know, boom. Pretty much that's how TNA had happened. By the way, the fact that his TNA run was omitted as well. I mean, look, I thought he had some pretty good moments in TNA. We're talking about a period in time there where basically from 2007 until about 2009ish that he was involved in TNA. He had some pretty good moments that was going on there before ultimately returning to WWE and everything. But I mainly want you to focus more on the circumstances surrounding him leaving the WWE. All of that was just omitted. I don't know why all of that was omitted. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if I say, hey, I didn't take any illegal drugs, I only took what was prescribed to me, and that's it. So you're only finding traces of XYZ. No, I don't have anything to do with this other company that I was accused of doing business with. I have no connections to them whatsoever. Why am I being linked to this? You're going to stand your ground and you're going to, you feel where I'm coming from? So the fact that that wasn't really touched upon, I mean, this is your story. Set the record straight and all that. I thought that was kind of interesting that that was not mentioned. Something else that was not mentioned, something else that was omitted. What's up with Booker T's political career? If you guys recall, there was a period where going back to 2016, Booker T talked about how he saw great change coming in 2020. Again, what he said in 2016, he said, "Hey man, in 2020, I see a big change that's happening. I can see this whole new era for Houston. It kind of feels like we're going in a new direction, a new era, for Texas and everything." And his whole thing was, "I'm gonna run for mayor of Houston 2019." If I remember right, he said he was gonna run for mayor of Houston 2019. It's weird because he was quoted back in 2016 saying that he would focus all those 3 years going into the 2019 election. He would focus tremendously on improving the city's homeless situation, low income areas, and all of that. But when 2019 came around, of the names that was on the election ballot, Booker T wasn't on the ballot. It would have been nice to, kind of hear, even if it's a case where he's brought it up on his shows and all that, or wrote it in a book or whatever. It would have been nice to hear him go on record and officially say, "Okay, yeah, look, as far as the whole political joint goes and everything, this is why I kind of put a stop on it." Whether it's a case of, you know what, I really kind of stopped and thought about it. And given where I am in my life, that's a lot of time, that's a lot of dedication. I would have to be, how am I supposed to balance that out with family? And, was it a case where he had a second change of heart? I mean, it happens. What sounds pretty cool at the time, and you want to step up to the plate. Soon you kind of realize the hard way that, wow, man, a lot of responsibilities here. There's just, woo, I don't really think I should be. This is way too much. My plate's kind of full right here. I don't really think I should be taking this on. Would have been nice to hear him go on record about that. So when you think about those areas, I'll have to leave that up to you guys. For some of you guys, you may look at some of those things that I said, and you may say, "Well, Lee, not for nothing, but I ain't really care for all that. Documentary was good." But if you're kind of one of those, no, I like a complete story, and I just filled you in on some of those things. Now you understand what I mean and what I say when I talk about, hey, these WWE docs, you got to be careful because ultimately Vince and them, they got their hands on this. They get to see the final cut and all this other shit. And so, you always have to, as I said last week, okay, they doing a story on who? Okay, let me get a head start right now and let me start researching. That way, when I do get ready to see this, I'm already gonna know what's up. I already got the complete story. Now I'm just trying to see how they go about with the overall presentation.